In a previous video we could see the full story of Lord Drakkon, a villain from an alternate universe which was Tommy Oliver. In that other universe, Tommy didn't want to join the Power Rangers and decided to follow with Rita to conquer the world. If you want to see the full story you can search for that video on our channel. Lord Drakkon's development seemed like it would end the moment he was fighting the Tommy Oliver of the universe we know, and Drakkon jumped into the void. Today's story starts from that moment as the Rangers thought he was dead, but the worst was yet to come. In that battle they were all in the universe of Lord Drakkon, who never died at that moment, but the energy of the portal takes him to the universe we all know. Upon arriving in this universe, he is captured by soldiers of the United States government. After this he is locked in a subway cell in a complex called Promethea, which was created by Gray Sterling, the first Red Ranger of which we had spoken previously. In this place he was kept with power restrictions and isolated from the outside world. In addition, he had guards at the entrance so that no one could enter the cell. Even so, this did not prevent the entrance of an unexpected guest who came from the same universe of Drakkon and who knew all the mess he had made. That guest was Saba, the White Ranger's sword, who appeared to take advantage of the opportunity to kill him. Saba fails and releases Drakkon, who rips Saba's head off and uses what's left to teleport back to his universe. In the future, we can already see what Lord Drakkon is going to do in the present, and the Power Rangers Time Force team discovers a rift in space. Wes warns that this rift is also affecting other universes. The Rangers approach with the Megazord, but it is attracted and devastated by the energy of the rift. Because of this, the blue, green and yellow Rangers are swallowed by the rift. Wes tells Jen that she must go to the past to find the connection point where this originated. Jen knew that Wes would be swallowed by the rift along with the Megazord, but she had no other choice and went back to the past. Before leaving, she saw the Megazord disappear with Wes on board, and suddenly, a specter of Lord Drakkon appeared and tried to catch her, but couldn't. In the present, Jason and Tommy confront Grace about not telling them that she had Lord Drakkon locked up. Lord Drakkon then travels to Ninja's house and convinces him to help him repair his connection to the Morphin grid. This happens in the universe we know, and at that time the Rangers had not yet met Ninja, but Lord Drakkon comes from another universe where time is more advanced, which is why Drakkon did know of the existence of Ninja and managed to convince him with lies, telling him that he came from the future and in that future, they were friends. After passing several tests, Ninja repairs the power coin and then Drakkon leaves him unconscious. In the command center, Billy and Trini try to repair the Black Dragon in order to warn Coinless of the possible return of Lord Drakkon. The Coinless are those Rangers and people who survived in Lord Drakkon's universe and united to confront him and help others. This is why Billy and Trini were working hard to repair the Black Dragon to warn them, but they had to take a break. At that moment Lord Drakkon infiltrates the command center and steals the green Chaos Crystal. This crystal is used by Rita to cross dimensions by accessing the Morphin grid and can only be charged with energy with the power of the Green Ranger. This is why after Lord Drakkon stole this crystal, he goes in search of Tommy to be able to charge the crystal and have enough energy to open portals. At that moment in another place, Kimberly and Tommy had taken a break from all the problems that were happening and had decided to go to the movies. They were trying to talk about other things, but in their heads, there was only the question of how they were going to defeat Lord Drakkon. After arriving at the place where they were going to take different roads to go home, Tommy tries to kiss Kimberly, but she tells him that it is not the right time and they each go home. After walking away, Kimberly realizes that she did want the kiss and goes back to look for Tommy, but finds a bitter surprise. Lord Drakkon had appeared and pierced Tommy with Saba to fill the crystal with energy. Kimberly transforms and begins to fight Drakkon, but at that very moment Jen, the Pink Ranger from the future, appears. Jen attacks Lord Drakkon with her weapon, but he opens a portal with the crystal and leaves. Kimberly tries to help Tommy and asks him to please not die. Tommy says his last words, but stops breathing. Regardless of Kimberly's desperate plea for help, Jen tells him that there was nothing left to do, he was already dead. This is just the beginning of the shattered web and all the things Lord Drakkon is about to do. Many other stories are connected to this multiversal event, and this is why we will continue to study this story of Lord Drakkon, who has returned to his universe and was able to reunite with Finster. Lord Drakkon had combined Finster with parts of Alpha 5 and made him his right-hand man and his only supposed friend. When they met, they hugged and began to discuss future plans, but Finster tells him that although he will help him in any way Drakkon wants, he still doesn't have all the solutions. Lord Drakkon tells him that he has the person who will have all the solutions, and at that moment he shows Ninja, who had him locked in a small crystal tube. Now Zordon gathers the other Rangers in the command center, and they all watch as Alpha covers Tommy with energy. The Rangers think that Tommy is still alive, and that Alpha is just trying to save him. At that moment, Zordon tells the Rangers that Tommy was dead. Each Ranger had a different reaction, and they didn't know what they were going to do with the body. In the end, they decide to leave him in the same place where he died so that the police could find him, and his mother could mourn his death. Several days later they have a funeral to say goodbye to Tommy, and we can see how Jason is suffering a lot. At that moment, Alpha warns that Jen had woken up since after the fight with Drakkon she had been unconscious for several days. When Jen wakes up, she explains to the Rangers who she was and where she comes from. She also explains to them what happened in her time and shows them something very important. Jen teaches the Rangers that they inspired more Rangers for many years and explains what the timeline of all the Rangers was like. Because of the event that had started with Tommy's death, the Morphin grid had tried to protect itself and changed the timeline and locked each Ranger team into a kind of pocket universe so as not to create paradoxes. She also explains that the rift she saw in her time started in this time with Tommy's death, as that is like a small fracture that over time gets bigger until it breaks, just as it happened in the future. Kimberly presents the idea of traveling to the past to stop Lord Drakkon from killing Tommy, but Jen tells her that she can no longer travel to the past because of the rift and that everything from the past is now sealed. In the Samurai Rangers Pocket Universe, Lauren is practicing new moves, and at that moment Lord Drakkon arrives with a large army. The Samurai Rangers do not know who they are and feel confident as they have symbols of power that protect the house, but this was not enough, and Lord Drakkon manages to break through the shields. The Rangers begin to fight against the army and defend their house, but despite all the effort, the army manages to defeat them and take away their morphers. Lauren the Red Ranger manages to escape with the help of the Blue Ranger, and Lord Drakkon gives the order to look for her. In the midst of this chaos, Jen realizes that all this is happening, and thanks to Billy and Trini, they manage to repair and change certain things in the Black Dragon. Alpha was able to send them to that universe of the Samurai Rangers to help with the situation. The moment they arrive they notice the army and Zack wants to attack, but Jason tells him that they should be smart since that army managed to wipe out a team of Rangers. Jen realizes that there was one more Ranger and they manage to save Lauren before the army takes her out. Elsewhere, Drakkon is working with Finster on his new plan, a combination of the morphers he took from the Samurai Rangers. Although Finster was unsure, Lord Drakkon told him to start the process and, in the end, they achieved the result they wanted. Drakkon was filled with more power than before and with a new transformation. For this process they only needed one morpher, and Finster didn't know if they had to use all the other morphers of the samurai, but Drakkon tells him that thanks to Ninja he could understand that he doesn't need all the morphers, but one of each kind. The other morphers that are left over will be used with the whole army. The moment the Samurai Rangers fell, Zordon uses part of his reserve power to summon a meeting with the three emissaries. By using his remaining power, Zordon will no longer be able to join the Morphin grid when he dies. After calling the meeting, the three emissaries arrive and Zordon begins to talk to them about the threat Lord Drakkon poses to everyone. Zordon asks them to talk to the Morphin Masters to disconnect Lord Drakkon from his power. The three emissaries tell Zordon that the Morphin Masters cannot get involved in human problems and cannot decide the fate of worlds. Zordon at that moment shows them all the achievements the Rangers have made and the great struggles they have gone through, as they have been warriors who have fought with courage and kindness. He also shows them how the Tommy Oliver from another dimension became Lord Drakkon and how he was affecting all the other dimensions with armies and death. Even with all that Zordon showed them, the emissaries thought that these problems were just a grain of sand and Zordon was seeing them as a mountain. They thought that the Rangers were going to be able to solve this problem alone and that the Morphin Masters did not have to be involved. Zordon pleads with them one last time, but they just tell Zordon that they were waiting for the day when he would join them in the Morphin grid, but now it is not going to be possible because he used his remaining power to call that meeting. After sending Zordon back, the three emissaries begin to dialogue and doubt if they made a good decision or if it was a mistake, since Zordon is a great sage who would never play with these delicate issues. Lord Drakkon begins to invade all the pocket universes that had been created, and Jen realizes this. Alpha manages to make a connection so that Zordon can send a warning message to all the multiverses at the same time and tells them about what Lord Drakkon is doing. At that point they receive a connection from Dr. K, a genius scientist who was the creator of the Power Rangers RPM arsenal. She tells them that she managed to connect with them despite belonging to a different dimension and informs them that they have been under attack for 8 hours. She also tells them that they have managed to stop Lord Drakkon's cannons, and this has helped them to resist in the battle. Unfortunately, the connection is lost before she can help the Rangers of this dimension understand how to stop Lord Drakkon's cannons. Suddenly they receive a transmission from the Coinless and say they lost the base, but think they possibly have a way to stop Drakkon. The Rangers tell Alpha that they should go to Dr. K first so she can upgrade their morphers, but Alpha tells them that inside and outside of Corinthia they are blocking teleportation and could only manage to appear 15 kilometers away from there. Because other alternate universes were under attack, Jason gives the order to split up to visit 3 different locations at the same time. Zack, Trini, and Billy would go to the world of Drakkon to the coordinates of the Coinless. Jen and Kimberly would have to go find other Rangers who have survived to bring them to the command center of this universe. Jason and Lauren would go to Corinthia to find Dr. K to tell them how to stop Drakkon's cannons. Meanwhile, Drakkon from his base is dialoguing with Finster about all the morphers they have prepared to give more powers to Lord Drakkon at the same time. At that moment, Drakkon is remembering what happened in the Zeo Rangers universe. Drakkon had impersonated the Tommy from that universe and managed to obtain Adam's morpher without harming any Rangers. He also recalls conversations with Jason as he tells him how he feels about Tommy and how he has been a great example to the other Rangers. At the end, before leaving back to his base, Drakkon has a conversation with the real Tommy from that universe and tells him that he doesn't understand how the other Rangers idolize him, and then takes his life away. This is something Lord Drakkon also tells Finster as he fails to understand what it is about Tommy that makes others love him. Finster tells him that love is something that should never make sense. At that moment, one of the soldiers arrives and tells Drakkon that Dr. K had discovered how to evade the cannons. Because of this event, Lord Drakkon decides to bring more reinforcements to Corinth, but this is to be after his transfer of power. Jason and Lauren arrive in Corinthia in a part of the desert, and then Jason calls the Rex to help them on the journey. On that trip, Jason and Lauren talk about their lives to get to know each other better and realize all that Lord Drakkon has damaged. In the world of the Coinless, Zack, Billy and Trini arrive in a destroyed world. At first, they couldn't recognize where they were because of the destruction, but then they realized they were in the Angel Grove juice bar. At that moment the Coinless arrive and tell them that Skull was undercover for a long time inside Lord Drakkon's troops. Skull was able to see everything that was going on inside the base and realized that Ninja was being held under a spell. The Rangers of this universe don't know who Ninja is since they live in a later time than the Coinless, so they had not yet met Ninja. The Coinless explain who Ninja is and say that he is the key to defeating Drakkon. Meanwhile in Corinthia, the RPM Ranger are battling against Lord Drakkon's army, who are now also samurai because of the morphers they have stolen. In the middle of the battle, a noise is heard, and it was Jason with the Zord coming to help the Rangers. Jason and Lauren manage to wipe out the few remaining soldiers and exit the Zord to meet up with Dr. K. The RPM Rangers talk to Jason to find out who they are, but he tells them there is no time and tells Dr. K that they must take her to his dimension. Suddenly, Lord Drakkon appears with his new army, including the Psycho Rangers and several others. Now we can see a Lord Drakkon with a slightly different transformation sporting some black parts. We can also see SPD Squad A, and behind Drakkon is Korag the Wolf Knight, a villain from Power Rangers Mystic Force. Elsewhere, Kimberly and Jen are traveling through space and have a conversation about the side effects of time travel. Jen tells Kimberly that although she is hoping for a miracle, they really can't save Tommy anymore, and that even if that were to happen, still, things are never the same again. Kimberly and Jen come across Terra Venture, the Galaxy Rangers base, and descend to go see what had happened there. Although the place looks empty, they find a sign of life for the moment and surprisingly meet Astronema. She had been one of the worst threats in the universe, but at that point they were way ahead in time, and Astronema had already been reformed and turned into a Pink Ranger. Each pocket universe is at a different point in time, and this is why Jen is a bit confused, as she is not the Ranger she expected. At this point in the story, we get to see the whole environment taking shape and how Lord Drakkon is becoming more empowered with each trip he makes in the multiverse.